morning, everyone. I want to thank GE and for kindly inviting AmCham Indonesia to be a part of this event today. I'm very happy to be here. So what are the big takeaways? I think the takeaways, I was asked to sum up a couple of takeaways. I think the takeaways from the speeches are that ESDM clearly has a plan and energy and commitment to move this forward, the renewable space. GE is one of the most remarkable companies in American history, and I'm not saying that just because it's a GE event. It just is true. It's one of our most remarkable bedrock companies in the United States. It's going through an amazing transition at the moment, splitting into 3 separate companies. I think the powered and renewable energy side of it is going to be extremely exciting. And the other takeaway that we have is that there is renewed commitment from the United States, and I might even say finally, because the JETP partnership, the Just Energy Transition Partnership, has a big price tag attached to it. The United States is finally coming to the game with real resources, and I think that it's, the word game changer is overused, but I think that has really gotten the attention of people. And so in Michael's remarks, I think the JETP is very important. And also, I would note that this week is the IPEF Singapore negotiating round is underway now in Singapore. And so I'll be leaving Indonesia tomorrow morning to go to Singapore and attend as much of the IPEF side events and discussions as I can. So I think it's an exciting time. I've been in Indonesia for 15 years, 16 years. We first started having these discussions about renewables during the tenure of President Yudhoyono, who caught the world's attention at the COP conference in Pittsburgh, I think in 2009. But I think it's taken until now, with the kind of energy and determination that's represented by the current government, for this to become something that's starting to feel real, like we're really on the road to something. So I'm very delighted with where this is going, and happy that AmCham and American business can be part of this and will be part of this. That's enough from me. Now, on to the panel. I want to introduce very briefly each of our panelists, ask each of you in order to give a 1 to 2 minute discussion of what your work is, what you'd like to say this afternoon. Then we'll ask a few questions and hopefully have time for the audience to ask some questions, and we will proceed in that way. So informal, just a chance to talk to each other. Let me start to my immediate left. Rachmat Kaimuddin is the Deputy Coordinating Minister for Infrastructure and Transportation in the Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment. As we all know, one of the most important ministries, one of the most important offices propelling investment forward in Indonesia. Next to him is Cita Dewi, Executive Vice President for New and Renewable Energy in PLN. Cita, I don't have to tell you that all eyes are on PLN. Everybody wants to know what PLN is going to do. It's really probably the most important player in many ways in this entire discussion. So we really look forward to what you have to say. Next to Cita is Sripeni Inten Cahyani, expert staff at ESDM, and expert staff to the minister with close to 30 years of experience in electricity and power generation. Next to Sripeni is Imran Ghazali, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Medco Power Indonesia, certainly one of the leading Indonesian players in the IPP space and elsewhere, and a company that's grown remarkably in the last several years. We've watched this develop. And finally, last but not least, we have Kaz Fukui, who is the decarbonization leader in Asia for GE Gas Power. So Kaz, thank you very much also for being here. let's kick things off with Rachmat. Everybody gets a couple of minutes, and then we'll focus down into some questions, and we'll just go in order down the line. That's the easiest way to keep track.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. From the government side, I think Pak Dadan has already discussed quite a bit. So I myself in the Menko Marves get the honor and the pleasure to basically lead the discussion with the IPG members, including the US. And we believe this energy transition is a very, very important global agenda, and Indonesia wants to be part of that and want to be an active part of that, and hopefully could be setting an example of how global north and developing country can cooperate in a good way, in a sustainable way moving forward. And of course, it takes a lot of discussions, it takes a lot of education from each side. Yeah? I just got back from Stanford last week, and I met with the dean of the newly established Door School of Sustainability. And what he said is that, and I'm gonna keep using this, that each country have different initial condition and different boundary conditions. We can't use cookie cutter strategy for each one. And I think Indonesia, given the very complex demography, topology, geography, politics, could be a very good example if we can do right cooperation, right transition in Indonesia. There's a lot of example that can be used in other countries. And I think this is, and also for me speaking here in GE, discussing with all the global companies, could be a part of that as well. So looking forward for the discussions. Thanks.
I'm Cita Dewi from Renewable Energy Division PLN, and continuing what Pak Dadan already conveyed this morning, also Pak Rachmat Kaimuddin. PLN is SOE who has the responsibility to provide electricity supply to the nations. That's why, in terms of energy transition, it is the responsibility to ensure for the long term that all islands shall be lit with clean and also environmentally friendly. Even right now, we know that the population in PLN, especially to light off the nation, they are almost 50% is coming from the fossil, but we are going to transition from the fossil to renewable. That's why PLN cannot doing it alone. We are open for collaboration. We are open to have further discussion or innovation, because we understand that collaboration and innovation will be the key for the clean and affordable energy.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know that already presented and explained by the minister that represented by Pak Dadan, Mr. DG of Renewable Energy. Actually, the government of Republic Indonesia already have a commitment, strong commitment regarding with the issuing the presidential regulation number 112 in 2022, and also right now the MMR already finalized the law of new and renewable energy, and right now it is submitted to the parliament and ready to discuss. So this is actually shows that the government is really commit and having the roadmap, put it on the draft of the renewable energy. And of course, actually the MMR also preparing the regulation that consists of the roadmap itself, how the energy transition roadmap to 2060, and also how the early retirement of the coal-fired power plant established. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you. If you don't mind, I would like to share my personal experience. So I joined this Medco Power Indonesia, I think it's almost a year now. Before that, I was working intensively on the oil and gas sector, and also mining. So when I came to the Medcopa Indonesia last year, it was very exciting because at the time, the energy transition and climate change just right on time. Yeah? Because we all understand one of the main aspects of the energy transition is about power. How we generate the electricity from the renewables and clean energy. And we're very thankful that the government has put a very strong aim or goals for net zero emissions. And we as the private sector, and I think the other, and also other company, strongly believe this can be done and we are ready to support it. So the other thing that also mentioned by Pak Dirjen, Pak Dadang, Indonesia is very blessed with the renewables. You name it, solar, wind, hydro, geothermal. So this is a big potential, and we strongly believe that Indonesia could be the role model for this to support the energy transition and achieve our goal for the net zero carbon or emission. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kas Fukui. I currently manage the decarbonization for GE. And really appreciate this opportunity to share. And I'd love to share some of the perspective from kind of technology provider in this space. So if you see globally, the energy transition, we really see being driven by the decarbonization effort and also electrification effort. On decarbonization front, we talked about 40% of emission coming from power sector, number one source. So it's very important to decarbonize this. But this sector is growing in terms of demand, right? So we see global capacity for electricity growing by 50% over the next 10 years. Global generation growing by more than 25% over the next 10 years. So significant growth in terms of demand. So no, we have a problem of decarbonizing current demand or the installed base, but we also need to decarbonize the future demand as well in parallel. So that's number one challenge. Electrification. Electrification of transportation, the industry has potential to decarbonize in this sector as well. And that's why the transportation is 21% of global emission. Industry, 26% of global emission. So why power, decarbonizing power sector is very important in doing so. We also see huge change in terms of investment, right? We saw big US IRA, the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, drive 369 billion to support the clean energy transition in US. And Pak Rachmat, you drive around the JP, incredible, 20 billion to support Indonesia. These are big numbers to drive this transition effort, so we see the significant drive in that sense. The interesting thing we see here is the technology is available. Right? In many areas, we see the portfolio of technologies available. It comes to the question of commercializing these technologies, scaling up, and getting to the right economy as well. And in that aspect, we find Indonesia very exciting in a sense. Pak Dadan, you shared with us in terms of Indonesia having the resources. We've got the natural gas, the natural resources. We have a sequestration sites for CO2. We have the renewable potential, huge amount in Indonesia. So out of all the countries I see in Asia, Indonesia has got almost a portfolio of tools and has a huge potential to demonstrate what does the energy transition mean to other countries as well. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for those opening remarks. We're going to, I think, kick it off here with some discussion on the role of government. I'm struck, Pak Rachmat, by the fact that you used to be the CEO of Bukalapak, and you also have a banking and venture capital side to you, QVAT management and elsewhere. These are some interesting skills to bring to energy. And I'm struck by the fact that the coordinating minister, Marvis, frequently brings very interesting people into the mix. Given your background and also what you're doing now in the ministry, can you tell us a little more about how you see the Indonesian government finding creative solutions to this dilemma of how to lower the carbon emissions and particularly given Kaz mentioned the IRA, particularly given the IRA and the pressure the IRA is going to put on nickel producers in terms of lower emission targets. So how's the nickel project has been enormously successful. How is Marves now going to address this other side of the equation, lowering the emissions rates so that you can take advantage of the enormous push represented by IRA, for example, in the US and other such initiatives in Europe?
Thank you. So when we look at energy transition in general, right, I think you have to look at two sides. One is the power generation, and then the other one is the energy use. And of course, we speak about, like in JETP, we talk a lot about the energy generation, building more renewables, biomass, whatever, right? When we think about decarbonizing the industry, then we talk about the end use. And of course, the easiest, and every time and one thing we have to highlight is that Indonesia will need to industrialize its economy to ensure not only growth, but it's also, interestingly, the Indonesian economy so far, at least the historical carbon emission from Indonesia, if we see in some studies, only maybe less than 20% come from fossil use. Mostly actually come from FOLU, the land use, right? Because, you open land to create like plantations and what, cash crops, whatever it is, right? So if you want to be efficient in land use, you have to industrialize. And the thing is that given that Indonesia doesn't have good comprehensive grid yet, because of the geography, then we need to find some solutions. And for example, you speak about nickel. We spoke a lot with our Indonesian colleagues. The problem in nickel industry is that this is a very heavy material that contains very little nickel. Nickel ore only maybe 1 to 2% nickel. The rest is dirt and moisture or water. So you don't want to transport this 98.5% dirt and water elsewhere. You want to process it nearby. And what happens if there is no electricity there? And should you build a very big solar farm with battery and requires like maybe 10 times, 50 times more land, for example? Then you open up the land again. Or what you should do, potentially that's what we propose, and that is what we are working on in the JETP, is can we connect the grid from, let's say, Southeast Sulawesi to Central and South Sulawesi, whereby it's actually renewable potentials are abundant. And hydro, wind, solar is all big in there. And of course, this grid will not be built otherwise in the normal circumstances. So you need to create like a financing solution that will allow this to happen, because the moment you connect that, then all potential possibilities happen. Green electrons production will go up, emission will go down, the companies, the refinery, nickel refinery will get all this electricity that they need, and like everyone practically wins. So those are the kind of things that we want to, we try to bring to the table to look at more like helicopter view before we go down and see all the possible solutions. Because you can't just say, no coal, no captive coal. If you don't do no captive coal, then so what? Because the solution cannot be, Indonesia cannot have power, Indonesia cannot build, industrialize our natural resources. But what to do? And some of this maybe requires, in all grand scheme of things, not that big money, for example. As long as people are willing to think like that and push. Maybe, I'll pass it back to you then.
You guys have a big job ahead of you, and I look forward to watching this unfold. I'm sorry that Pak Darmawan couldn't be here today, because I know that he represents an important view in all of this, and He's had an incredible career, understands the United States very well, of course, as well as the situation in Indonesia. We've now sort of come to the crux of our conversation, which is this trilemma, as I guess we're now calling it, the need to balance sustainability, reliability, and affordability, and affordability with security, so that we can have, as Rachmat said, nobody's looking for a solution that says Indonesia doesn't get any power. That doesn't work. And Indonesia does face still a considerable challenge in industrializing and in some ways reindustrializing still the country's economy. So we're going to talk a little bit now about the current constraints, and would ask in various ways. I'm going to ask you all to think about how we define Indonesia's role in the region, what's the role of sequestration, etc. But we'll start with Sripeni, and want to talk a little bit about the fuel mix. Where are we in terms of renewable energy penetration enabled by gas, which was mentioned in the opening remarks, and the transition from coal as the biggest resource and export commodity in Indonesia? What role will gas play? And also, you mentioned the renewable energy law, which is coming. Any further thoughts on what we can expect to see in the renewable energy law? So I'll turn to Sripeni initially on this.
Thank you. Regarding with the energy transition roadmap, actually, the peak of the coal itself actually will be on the 2030. On the 2030, it is estimated 60 gigawatt is coal-fired power plant. So, and then this is
what is it currently, if I could ask? It's going to be 60 by 2030.
Coal, yes.
What is in coal? What is it currently?
Yes. Yeah. And then your question regarding with the gas, how is the coal gas having a role? I think we understand that entering the renewable energy, which is intermittency. Wind, we have wind, and then if you see the curve, the curve will be start on the 25. Yeah, it will be high growth on the solar PV, and solar PV wind is intermittent. So this is important of the gas power plant will make establish as the critical role in this, because we understand that Indonesia have 22 subsystem of the electricity. We have a regional balance. We have resources in the Sumatra, yeah, that have a lot of renewable energy in Sumatra, but in Jawa, we should have like a regional. So it is needed for the gas-fired power plant. Gas-fired power plant with the, LNG resources for the primary energy, it is make a critical function. And particularly, we already have a small island in the eastern of Java, which PLN have 2,130 location of the diesel power plant, and scattered. All of the unit is almost 5,000 units of diesel power plant, that it will be replaced by renewable energy or by gas. So this is also makes the importance of the gas in the system while the energy transition phase.
Let me ask you, just on the renewable energy law, will that provide a framework for these creative solutions and encourage, for example, partial renewables, which I know a lot of companies are interested in partially renewable solutions, like solar panels on the rooftop of your factory.
Hybrid, yeah.
And will that be included in the renewable energy law, those kinds of?
Yes. Yeah. Renewable energy law actually is initiated by the parliament, and it is goes to the Ministry of Energy Resources, and then we, Bapak Dadan is already collect all of the stakeholders initiative, and it is already complete, and right now has sent to the parliament to be discussed, and we are waiting for them. And the consist of the renewable energy, actually we set up how Indonesia can develop the renewable energy, particularly for the resources, the amount resources, the huge resources, abundant resources Indonesia, included nuclear, because some in the parliament introducing the nuclear power plant, and as mentioned before, that small modular reactor will be one of the new technology that will be introducing in the renewable energy law. Beside that, the technology set mention of the CCS or CCUS will be accelerate for the hydrogen, for the ammonia co-firing, and also for the blue hydrogen. And it will be mixed, become all of the alternative and option during the energy transition. And all of the technology is already places and put it on the roadmap of the energy transition, Indonesia 2060.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask now Ibu Cita from PLN. Tell us a little bit more about PLN's concrete steps, the real steps taken to develop renewable power, including intermittency from renewables. Does PLN plan to have peaking power plants that provide ancillary services? And what are PLN's plans to develop these type of plants? Are you looking at how are you looking at gas turbines, pump storage, and other areas? Anything you could tell us about the concrete actions of PLN with regard to renewables?
Yes. Okay, thank you. As we understand that this morning also we know that the energy sector will be the most sector besides transportation sector who contribute the biggest emission reductions. Means that PLN part of energy sector already make a preparation before. Starting on 2021, we already issued greenest RUPTL, it's long-term RUPTL, where PLN already emphasized to decarbonize fossil fuel and also to deploy the renewable energy development. With the how we going to deployment of the renewable energy power plant. Currently, we know that almost 50% it is still supplied by a fossil fuel. So in order to have a good, smooth transition without making any burden to the government and also to the community, we make three intention to go through first decarbonize for the existing fossil fuel. We already have some action for our existing coal power plant by having a co-firing by biomass. It is already contribute for around 600 gigawatt hour last year. And also it is already utilized around 600 kiloton for biomass. And we are going to explore also the ability to utilize coal and also other fuels by having a hydrogen or ammonia. And then second, we already canceled the deployment of coal fire, which is already there based on RUPTL 2019, 30 gigawatt already canceled. And there is an addition 1.3 gigawatt under greenest RUPTL. So right now the RUPTL is almost 51% is come from a green renewable energy. And then second, we are going to accelerate with the knowing how is the condition, how is the ability of the system by having 20 of 9 gigawatt of renewable energy power plant, where it is consists of hydro is the biggest, 10.9 gigawatt, and then accompanying by solar around 4.7. And back to your question, how is PLN is going to anticipate for the incoming intermittency for the system? Yes, we have make some study and also do the implementation. At least at the current, we are going to utilize fossil fuels still to accommodate the peak load for the generator. And if there is a potential of hydro, sure, we are going to develop by having a pump storage to accommodate the intermittency as well. We are going to have a new bid for pump storage for this year. And then also, because based on RUPTEL, there will be around 3 point something gigawatt of pump storage. So the implementation will be this year, and then around 26 or 27, and then end of 2030 or 2031. This is the planning for the pump storage. And then for the PV, because we know that the potential, Indonesia have a huge of potential renewable energy. Hydro is still the biggest, 95, and then following by the other. And also, PV is the biggest, around 2,000. And even right now, the utilization is still less than 1%. But next, by having a good system, we are going to develop ACC, central control planning, to accommodate the intermittent and to accommodate a dynamic characteristic of VRA supply. So PLN right now is concentrated to build the ACC for this one. I thought that by having a further innovation and technology, and also by having energy storage, other energy storage like battery storage, which is already implemented and will be implemented also in scattered or isolated island. Right now, it's still going to have to get the bidding, and also battery for wind, for solar. It will be one of our approach to accommodate the intermittency coming to the system.
Thank you very much. I want to move a little bit here to decarbonization technologies and ask Kaz, can you provide, from your perspective in a sitting outside Indonesia, can you provide a global perspective and tell us where Indonesia stands in terms of new technologies and the opportunities also that may be there in hydrogen, pre-combustion, and also post-combustion, carbon capture and storage, which is something that's of great interest to some of the oil and gas companies here in Indonesia who have these fields with empty holes in them. Tell us where Indonesia stands, and especially on some of these newer things.
Great, thank you for the question. So if you see globally, the interesting thing is actually, as I mentioned, technology is available. Right? Compared to many problems in society where technology is not available, here we have opportunity where technology is available. The question is the scaling up and also making it economically feasible. And with that, globally, we see various demonstration projects taking place, like whether it's pre-combustion, mixing hydrogen into the gas turbines and making sure that they can operate in that way, or looking at the post-combustion capture and then demonstrating these technologies at a scale. We believe the portfolio of technology is important, right? Pak Rachmat mentioned about the boundary conditions of different countries. There's actually no one solution. We see country by country, there's a different portfolio of solution required. So be it the renewable, be it the gas turbine to support the renewable growth, or the small modular nuclear reactor, or pumped hydro storage. All sorts of technologies are required to achieve this energy transition. So that's what we observe in that space. When we come to Indonesia, we mentioned about the uniqueness of Indonesia having really almost toolbox, like portfolio of toolbox. actually it's a very good vantage point where you can play with different tools to be able to do that. And again, I see companies like Metco approaching with a portfolio approach, whether you go renewable, geothermal, gas, providing the mixture, and also influencing this region as well, right? Supporting Singapore agenda, which doesn't have that kind of portfolio of tools. Indonesia does. So in that sense, there's a great opportunity in Indonesia to be able to use the portfolio approach. But at the same time, we have to remember we're talking about the energy transition. People want to talk about green hydrogen straight away. People want to talk about the future technologies immediately today. It takes time. Right? Hydrogen infrastructure takes time to develop. Sequestration sites takes time to develop. So when we talk about the transition, we believe it's important to think about the time frame, right, around which maybe the immediate things we can do is the coal to gas switching. As Amol mentioned earlier, immediate reduction in emission. Then maybe we drive the renewable growth with supporting gas power. And then we eventually may get to the green hydrogen story. And so there is going to be a long journey along the which we go. And then for that, even we talk about technology issues, we believe the policy support, very important. So how would Indonesia push certain technology forward? It could be the carbon capture because of the sequestration sites we have here. It could be green hydrogen because of the potential of the country to generate green hydrogen. And then we see countries like Japan, right, driving ammonia agenda. That's a national strategy. So I think it will be interesting to see eventually how Indonesia will push that national strategy and then becoming really the support of the energy transition for the region. So.
Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit, ask Imran to talk a little bit about the IPP perspective. Some of what we're interested in here is from an IPP developer's point of view, what kind of incentives or policies are needed to accelerate the energy transition? In other words, what does the private sector need to see from the government? And tell us a little bit about the strategy that you see emerging for IPPs in Indonesia. And will Indonesia be taking on also a larger role in this space?
Okay, thank you. From the IPP standpoint or from the private sector, I think it's quite straightforward, Lynn. Yeah. We just want to make sure our investment will bring or will provide a reasonable margin to us or to our shareholder, considering also the risk of the business itself. So, considering on this one, what we expect from the government to provide the policy support, number one is to encourage, to give the conducive investment climate for the private sector to continue or to increase the investment in the country. Number two is to provide the stability of the policy. Yeah? For example, the tax policy. Yeah? Because this is, I think, could be one of the risks or the challenge that we face as the investor. And this is basically to ensure that our forecasted revenue or income can be realized, yeah, in the long term. Because for the IPP, as you may know, the PPA may stand until 20 years. So we just need to make sure within these 20 years, our investment is secure and we can basically get the expected return at the end of the contract. For the other things, I said about tax incentive, how to basically make the capital investment efficient. That's coming from, for example, the policy about the local content. Yeah? To be honest with you, one of the challenges right now is to meet the local content. Yeah? So maybe for certain years, we can expect some so-called relaxation on the local content. Yeah? But I believe that the government and also the private sector need to work together, yeah, to make it the manufacture or the supply chains can be made in the country. But I think for current, at least for the next 5 years, I still see that the local content, I think we need to some kind of relaxation. Okay. And fiscal incentive, of course, yeah, that also can make our capital investment become more efficient. And then for the renewables, I think the government need to see case by case or one by one. Yeah? For example, like geothermal. Geothermal is exposed to the exploration risk. I think this is still one of the biggest challenges, how to mitigate this risk. For the solar and wind, as mentioned already, this is intermittent. So this is just to make sure the policy support also can be given. Because this is, I think, one of the issues also with PLN, how to maintain the grid stability when they receive the intermittent electricity supply from the renewables. I think that's some of them, Lynn. On the second questions, the critical policy, I think the development of the comprehensive strategy, how to achieve this target. Yeah? And we have in the morning from Pak Dadan, from Pak Dirjen, the roadmap. Yeah. I think now the more important is how to implement this roadmap into the working plan. Yeah. So we just need to make sure this is not only good on the paper, yeah, on the slide, but it can be executed, it can be workable. Yeah. And given the number of the capital is very massive. Yeah. It's about $1 trillion for 30 to 40 years. It's a huge number. And Pak Dadan showed that every year it is expected about $30 billion spending. So I think this is one of the big issues also we need to mitigate altogether.
Thank you very much. We're going to say goodbye to Pak Rachmat. He's got a meeting with Pak Luhut. We're running a little bit behind, so we understand. Thank you so much for being here. I want to stay a little bit on this area of the investment climate, because really when we're talking about renewables, we're talking about investment in renewables. And what I'm curious about here is how do you see it from your point of view? What improvements does Indonesia need to make in terms of job creation, education, upskilling workers, etc.? And where does Indonesia stand in making a more conducive investment climate? You mentioned local content. The American Chamber of Commerce in Indonesia doesn't like local content laws. We think it's like hitting companies over the head with a stick, when it's better to encourage investment, which will lead to more local content in a more organic way. That's our point of view. But how do you see Indonesia in terms of some of these other areas, like the skills that are necessary and the steps that need to be taken for greater job creation?
Okay, I share the experience from Medco Power. In the Medco Power, we focus on the clean and renewable energy sector. So right now we comprise, or we have the asset of projects comprising of the gas to power, geothermal, solar PV, and mini hydro. So with this small scale of the company, from the last 3 to 5 years, we basically develop a skill set, a new skill set to our team, to our organization. Because we started, the Metro Power started with the gas to power business. But now our team has to learn also about the solar PV. has to learn also about the geothermal. So in solar PV, for example, one of the big issue or challenge is how to do the vegetation control. We built solar PV in Sumbawa, 26 megawatt peak. It's quite big. It's a 25 hectare. And one of the issue, as I mentioned, is how to basically cut the grass of vegetation control for 25 hectare. So by having this kind of asset or project, automatically our team has to learn to build their skill set in that particular area. Similarly with geothermal, our team now has to learn about how to do the drilling, how to do the well maintenance for the well. Yeah? So not only doing like the gas turbine, the conventional things, but they have to expand, they have to enlarge their skill set and also the competency. So that's, I think, from the small perspective.
I never thought about the challenge of mowing the grass in a solar field, but I guess it makes sense. So you do have to mow the grass because things grow like crazy.
One last thing that we try now in the solar PV is maybe you already heard this about the solar agrovoltaic. So our team right now is doing the pilot project, put it this watermelon, and try to to grow this watermelon under the solar PV module.
Well, that's a fascinating idea. I like that. We're going to throw it open for questions, but from the audience before we close. But I do want to ask one more question. I'm going to direct this at both Cita and Kaz. What is needed? What are the top 3 things that need to be done in this part of the world to build the right ecosystem for the future of energy? And anybody else can jump in as well. But give me 3 things that are crucial in Indonesia and in Southeast Asia to build the right ecosystem for the future of energy.
These things to build the ecosystem first, we know it is the relation with the energy transition. First, we have to create the conducive policy. It is important because right now, how to attract investor, how to give our local product, because we are having a party here. So means that we ourselves open a local product to give a contribution as well, together with the collaboration for the import as well. And then second, it is important, I thought, we have to build the people's capability and competency, because by having a huge of potential new capital around 700 billion US still to reach net zero emission means there is a lot of technology will coming, there is a lot of new innovation will be there. And then third, again and again, we have to have a technology and innovation is being harnessed implementation in the country. It is 3 things important.
Thank you. Kaz, do you have a list?
Yeah. So number 1, we believe country-to-country partnership very important in this region. Whether it's Indonesia supplying the green fuel to North Asia, or Indonesia providing sequestration center for neighboring countries. So the country-to-country partnership, how do we develop an ecosystem around the country-to-country partnership? We believe it's important. Number 2 is an ecosystem to allow the commercialization of technologies. So these require taking risks, right? And Pak Imran mentioned the IPPs, they have to make return. And in that environment, how do you let the companies take the right risk, right players come together, create this project? So that kind of support mechanism to make sure there is an environment under which the people can commercialize these technologies, that's important. And that's number 2. Number 3, I echo Cita on this policy element as well, in terms of how do we have a policy framework supporting the deployment of dependable, reliable power sources, because we have to think in terms of the totality of the whole system. And then also the skills, the developmental people, as we talked about, right? Because despite the huge investment we need to make in this space, we talk about over 1 trillion, but in that environment, there's a potential to grow the economy. In some studies show that it can be actually positive in terms of plus minus, right? So there's a potential for that kind of policy supporting the growth in this area as well.
Thank you very much. I'm going to throw it over to the audience. If anybody has any questions, just raise your hand.
So my name is Bayu. I'm come from Max Power, which is also under Medco Group. Actually, I have 2 points that I need to highlight. The first, maybe if I join another session like this also, I always comment on this part, which is financing sector. So what we have issues right now, when we do renewable energies, usually there is, if Europe or US, there is a green fund, which is getting lower interest or basically reducing the financial costs. But this is not happening in Indonesia. The main cost is the financing sector does not understand about the green energy and how the future in Indonesia itself. So that's why when the policy coming from ESDM and another ministry, the Ministry of Finance, OJK, and also banking sector does not understand how much these important issues. So we as a private sector always have facing the issues of how to finance the project and get lower tariff. So currently why renewable energy in Indonesia is quite high price, high tariff is because of one key is the financing tariff. So that's one point that I need to highlight, but yeah, I don't know how to ask to anyone, but maybe other can comment about that. The second thing is about efficiency energy and conservation energy. So it is in the EBTKE, konservasi energi, where do we put the conservation energy or efficiency energy in the net zero emission program? So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody cares to comment on this financing piece. I think that's something that obviously is very important. But it was more of a statement than a question. I don't think any of us are finance people, so we might let that stand as a statement. And can you restate your second question so I'm sure that I understand it? And who would you would direct that at who in the
maybe
panel?
to all, because it's also regarding to the overall of the program of net zero emission, including the JETP. Where do you put the energy conservation or energy efficiency in the program? That's it.
Okay, so Sripeni?
Thank you. Pak Bayu, thank you for your questions regarding with the energy transition roadmap. That actually right now we are still in the set up and will put it on the under Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources regulation. We will put it like energy management, yeah, the implementation of energy management, and also the implementation of efficiency energy. It will be put it on the energy transition roadmap, and will, because we understand that in the even international event, we understand that energy efficiency is become important. It is not just we right now have a surplus or overcapacity in the generation, but energy efficiency is one of the critical issue in the energy transition. So thank you for your concern about that.
If I may comment on the financing portion, the first question.
And the financing question too.
So
Good.
I think a very valid point. And then the thing is, not only in renewable sector, we see challenge in the fossil sector as well, right? It's very easy to say fossil or bad, let's not finance these. But we all know the problem is not as simple as that. So actually we see a role in us as well to make sure the financing institutions or the people who is backing these investments understand the complexity of energy transition and then the role different technologies play, and then influence. And then we certainly be doing that from our company as well. You cannot put coal and gas in the same bucket and say fossil. And then how does the gas play important role in energy transition, as mentioned by Inten? So I think we have our own role to play to make sure that's understood, and then right flow of the fund goes to the right places. So thank you for raising that one.
Yeah, I would like to add some perspective also from for these questions. Number one, about the conservation energy. In fact, right now we are working on that particular area in one of our project in Batam. So we basically modify our facility to make it more efficient on the machine, on the plant itself. So for the fuel consumption, with the same fuel consumption, we can generate more megawatt. So I think that's one example, the one that Inten just mentioned. The second one about the funding, about the access to fund, yes, this is one of the challenge also in this, not only for the renewables project, but for other projects in Indonesia. Right now, what we understand, the financing institution, at least in the Indonesia, they're still catching up for this renewables, for this energy transition. But we believe that as long as you have a good project, a solid, robust project, and it is even better if it is a green project, then the money will come to you. We have proved it already. Thank you.
Anyone else care to comment on either finance or conservation? In this case, any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, myself from G Power Conversion. So I have one question related to the hydrogen production. So any plan of Indonesian government to work with the hydrogen production? As a G, I can tell you that we are already go ahead very much in technology for the hydrogen production. And we are already in the phase of execution of hydrogen production with hydrogen rectifier at Germany, and one is another in France. So can you more elaborate about that hydrogen production by government policy? Yeah, thanks.
Anyone care to respond on the hydrogen question?
Thank you, sir, for your question. Actually, for the hydrogen, yes, the government has put this technology on the energy transition roadmap, particularly on 2035. We put it on the hydrogen utilization for 328 megawatt for this. Yeah. So right now we have initiate with the study. There is cooperation between the MMR with Japan, particularly for the study in how to, study in hydrogen for the green hydrogen and for the blue hydrogen.
Yeah, thanks. One more question, please. Especially, you know, that renewable energy is very polluting energy for the transmission system, because we do not know that when the solar energy will get or wind energy will get. So can we put up like a power quality system with the renewable energy together to go ahead with the unity power factor? With the same system, you can optimize to get the complete power. So it's just my request to take forward with the power quality together with the transmission or the renewable energy system to give the 100% power to the consumers or 100% power from the production.
They're really about intermittent power.
Transmission. Okay. Yes, it is very good question. I think we understand that for the renewable energy development in Indonesia, it is just not only for the power generation. But we understand that because Indonesia is very unique electricity system, we have 22 subsystem with the regional balance in the Jawa, Madura, Bali electricity system. And then for the Sumatra is a resource base. And the others is like island, small island is the isolated system. So we have three kind across in the, 17,000 islands. So this is very unique. And also this is very challenging. The important is, right now we have roughly 72 gigawatt of the power generation. But we need a strength of the grid. The national grid, it is important. Not only for the 500 kV, like in Jawa, Madura, Bali system, but we still have also need to improve our 275 kV in the Kalimantan and also Sulawesi and also in Sumatra. For the interconnection system, Jawa, Madura, Bali is very mature, but we still improve for the flexibility. But for the Sumatra, we still need improve on the interconnection itself to increase reliability and increasing for the reliability and also for the optimizing for the renewable energy. Yes, I understand. Your question is very smart. We should think also how to strengthen it of the grid. We understand that in the our program, the investment of the transmission to enhance and to strengthen of the transmission, it is need 135 billion US dollar, and it is not what I said. It is very huge investment. So we actually right now the government think the opportunity how the what I said the private sector can enter to the transmission sector, but we still have what I said need to study, more study to convince the government how we can make it, because we understand the operating system should done by the PLN as the majority of the operator system, but we need more investment fund to increase and to strengthen the grid. So we waiting for the law of the new and renewable energy draft that right now we have still having an open pending issue. One of them is about the power wheeling. The power wheeling is how government thinks that the private sector needed to improve in our national grid.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, hello, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to ask about the PLN view about the IPP renewable energy, because I think there are some projects of IPP renewable energy that is ongoing, but there is a stock of because PLN seems to very hard to offtake the energy from renewable energy, especially from the IPP project. So can I have some opinion from the PLN about this? Yeah, thank you.
Cita.
Relating to IPP development, as we all understand that we have the intention to accommodate all IPP to be the partner of PLNs. Almost half, 51% part of the renewable energy project will be under the IPP. And till now, from 20 gigawatts, And we understand that RUPTL issued end of 2021, means it is right now already 1 year before. Then 5.9 gigawatt is under construction and financing. And then 1.2 gigawatt is on procurement stage right now. And next semester we are going to issue 1.5 gigawatt new bidding as well for hydro, PV, and wind as well. It means that it means that we are not reluctant. We are going to open based on the system condition. Seems that right now in our shortlisted, because under presidential decree that all investors shall join or shall register on PLN shortlisted, we see that there is many participants there. For hydro almost 100, and for PV almost 200, and also for wind less than 100. It is one of the indication that the investment is open, the investment is there. What we are waiting right now, as already conveyed from the previous question from Pak Bayu, if not mistaken, yes. We know that the financing is the key issue because we are having a huge potential investment there. But how to have the access for a low cost financing, it is one issue. If we already have, it is not the issue also considered by the investor, but from our perspective as well, because the burden for right now to have low cost financing will be one challenges from the investor, which is already have the IPP. As what we discussed, some of the IPP is still having challenges in issuing the permit and also having a competitive financing. So it means that don't worry to have more new bidding, because we are going to accelerate as well, not only this year, but at least till next year there are many gigawatt will be there.
Thank you, Ibu Siti. I think this brings us almost to the close, unless anyone has a final question to offer. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to try to sum up your main points and what your takeaway you would like the audience to take away from your perspective from this discussion. We'll start with Ibu Siti and go down the way and take a minute or two apiece, and that'll bring us to almost to lunch, which is important.
Okay, we know that today, tomorrow, and next, the development of renewable energy will be always the strength of PLN to ensure leading up the nation with the environmental friendly. That means that once again, technology and innovation and collaboration will be the future for having a clean and affordable energy. That's why we are always open collaboration to be ready to have a good transition to achieve what's government goals. Thank you.
For the closing statement, I would like to say that energy transition is not only regulation, is it not only for commitment, but need collaboration and consistent for its stakeholders to implement the program. It is hard, pain, and exhausted during the transition period, but strong faith of the brighter future of the energy transition will keep us to move on.
Yeah, I think we have seen the morning session with some numbers already. It's a big agenda. It's a huge, massive investment. So I would like to echo Bu Cita and Bu Inten. Collaboration is required by the government, by PLN, private sector like us, and also the technology provider like GE. I think this is also important, how to make sure the capital investment for the technology is competitive. so that we can achieve this net zero emission target and we can provide the electricity with the sustainability, reliability, affordability, and security for the country. That's it.
And then I echo the same point in terms of the partnership and collaboration. And we are excited in terms of being part of this Indonesia play. Right? We talked about the Indonesia huge potential to explore all sorts of solutions here. We, from the Vernova perspective, we believe we bring the tools to enable various solutions. So very much looking forward to working with the panelists here and also everyone here in terms of driving Indonesia agenda going forward. So thank you for the time today.
Thank you all very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our panel. I think we'll close here and turn it over to our MC.
Thank you so much. Can we please give it up once again to the moderator and also the speakers? Please remain on stage. We are moving on to the token of appreciation moment. We are inviting on stage Mr. Amal Modi, President Services Asia Guest Power, to give tokens of appreciations for a very inspiring and also enlightening panel discussion we just had today. Mr. Amal will give one first to Ibu Cita Dewi. Thank you so much, Bu. And the second one is to Ibu Sripeni Inten Cahyani. And the third one to Mr. Imran Ghazali. Witnessed also by Mr. Kasfukui. And last but not least is for the moderator today, Mr. Lee Newman.